Last night was a very special night for me. I was invited to audio video therapies store in Nashua, New Hampshire, to hear the all-new Klipsch Jubilees, which will be their top-of-the-line speaker. Yeah, it's not in production yet, but I believe this was only the second time they've demoed these. The first time was somewhere down south a couple weeks ago. And so what I want to do is tell you about the speaker and my thoughts of what it sounded like. So first of all, as I say, this is the only pair in existence to date. And it's only a two-way speaker. So you have this huge speaker. It has the big horn on top, which goes from about 300 hertz to the upper limit of the speaker, maybe 20K or something like that. And then it's powered by a huge Celestian compression driver. The diaphragm, I think Roy was telling me, is 7 inches in diameter, and with something like a 5.5-inch diameter voice coil. I mean, it is the biggest compression driver I've ever seen. For home use, it's much bigger than anything. I don't think any other manufacturer uses anything like this. And then the upper part weighs about 100 pounds, if I'm not mistaken. And then there's the lower bass bin, as they call it, and that has two 12-inch woofers, and it's some kind of folded horn. I don't know exactly what it looks like, but there's, on either side, you'll see there's a vertical grill on either side of the bottom part, and that has that's where the most or all of the bass sound emanates. There might be some other ports too in the center. I'm not sure. Let's see here. So it's a little unusual compared to the other Heritage Klipsches, because rather than using a passive crossover, your normal circuit board that has resistors, capacitors, and inductors to send different parts of the amp's power to the different drivers. This uses an active DSP, digital signal processing box, that acts as the crossover and also does shapes in the digital domain. It shapes the signal so they can adjust to get flatter frequency response. It handles the crossover. I believe they can do phase timing changes to time align the bass bin with the upper horn and so forth. So it gives you huge flexibility. There's potential problems with that approach, but it does give them a lot of options. And I wondered to myself if it's potentially upgradable. If DSP becomes more common and more popular, if there'll be companies that make DSPs that might be able to, with the right software, just basically plug in place of Klipsch's DSP, or if Klipsch themselves might have software upgrades. I mean, it's hard to know what's coming down the road, but I think this trend is going to continue. So anyway, that's the speakers. I'm just looking at my notes here. So the efficiency, I think I heard them say, is about 108 dB, which is extremely high. Literally with 1 or 2 watts, you could make these things very loud. And the estimated cost, I believe they have not finalized the price, but I think I was hearing $38,000-$40,000 a pair, something in that price range. So they're not cheap, but they're by no means the most expensive speakers on the market. Okay, let's see here. So I got to meet Roy Delgado, which was an honor. And he's a very nice, soft-spoken guy. And we talked about a few things, but it was very loud in the room with the music playing and all the people talking. So it was more a chance just to meet him. I told him I've got the Cornwalls and was happy with those. So first, before telling you my quick conclusion about the sound, I have to say the room, I do not believe this was set up ideally. I mean, they didn't have much time. The room was in the basement of the store, the lower level. It was 15 by 15 feet. I pasted off, and that's what I got. It's pretty close to that, with a relatively low ceiling. So I don't, Roy felt, or he said that would be fine, but my instinct is that a much larger room where you can get the speakers further apart and get further away from the speakers would improve the sound further. The associated equipment was Luxman. I think it was all Luxman. I believe they had two amps, one for the top, one for the bottom, and yeah, and I think it was a Luxman DAC. But people were talking. The music was all over the map in terms of what people were selecting to play. Some of it wasn't loud enough. Some of it was way too loud. And just constant din of people talking. So it was really hard to get a handle on it. I'm going to sum up the sound. I was trying to think, what one word would sum up the sound of these new Jubilees? And before I say that, actually, the Jubilees they've made sort of commercial versions of the Jubilee for many years, but they're sort of these ungainly, disjointed, visually, that I think they made. I've never heard them, but they don't look like something most people would want in their living room. So what the Klipsch was able to do is kind of build on that original concept, turn it into an aesthetically pleasing design, and but still maintain the sound and scale of the older versions of the Jubilees. So my one word to sum up the sound of the Jubilees is power. These things sound powerful. I mean, they're full range. They've got quite deep bass, and it can be really explosive power kind of sound that I don't know if I've ever heard in a audio system before. And as I heard them set up, and again, it was a flimsy sheetrock walls. There was definitely some square room, far from ideal. So I don't want to draw final conclusions, but these, from what I heard, these have tremendous potential to sound very good. They sounded better, I thought, standing than sitting down. But again, if I could get further away from the speakers, they might be just as good or better sitting down. It was a little hard to tell. But in that situation, the seats were quite close to the speakers, and it could be it was just didn't give the sound enough room to spread out from the horns to the listener. So I think this speaker, which I have to believe Roy has been kicking around in his head for years, and finally, and I want to congratulate him, pulled this into a product that he was comfortable putting on the market. I think they're still considering small tweaks. I heard someone talking about, due to the weight of them, they might want some kind of removable handles, because the bottom bin at 300 pounds is not easy to move if you can't get a good purchase on the thing. But I think this will be a good choice for people with large rooms and large budgets that want an impressive, powerful, effortless slam kind of sound, which would suit a lot of musics, full orchestras obviously, but also certain rock and amplified, more modern music could sound great through these. I think this speaker is going to have some legs, and I think it's an instant classic, I would say. And again, congratulations to Roy and to everyone else at Klipsch. We're going to be hearing a lot more about this speaker soon.